I really am alone.
Don't you love how there was a big plot point in the first Sonic movie out of the 3 movies that was talking about him being alone, not knowing he technically wasn't even the first super alien type being on the planet. He came 50 years prior and has a lot of similar abilities to Sonic along with extra stuff, and he himself doesn't even know where he came from or how he got made in this movie universe.
It begins over 50 years ago with a meteor crash in a quiet corner of Oklahoma. The meteorite contained a life form, the ultimate life form. Shadow's power proved too dangerous. A terrible accident destroyed the lab, taking human lives with it. Too dangerous to be walking free, too valuable to destroy. So I had him placed into stasis.
Similar to the games, he has gear like his hover boots that allow him to kind of levitate. He uses gear that other characters don't use, like a literal gun. This motorcycle he can amp up. His energy has to be able to amp up the bike, because how on earth is the bike taking all these attacks from Sonic when Sonic can ram through, roll up, and split this tank like this? You know, the energy that you see Sonic and him producing, he has like an energy similar to this.
Shadow's power, his chaos energy, went far beyond any living creature.
Similar to how you see Sonic glows with electric-like aura, that's what Shadow can do. You can tell him and Sonic are just different type of life forms. Like they're literally on the moon chilling without no type of outfits, that they're surviving in space. The thing that makes him different and scary is that he has Sonic-like super speed, but he can also teleport on top of this raw point A to point B type speed. There's implications he can just teleport inside this ship after he's done what he's doing. See, I'm trying to make this video only mainly show stuff that actually we seen in the movies, but if we go by the actual Sonic 3 novelization, they say extra stuff about the lore for Shadow that can help us understand his might more. Like in Chapter 5, it's explained that the reason why Shadow appears to move super fast is that he can bend time via time manipulation, which would also be accurate to the games. It's because this chaos energy allows him to bend time in short bursts. Let's get into it. He's literally only in one movie, so it's not like we're going to see him lift a lot of different stuff, but there's clear implications that he has superhuman strength, muscle-wise. Look how easily he lifts up Sonic. Because they clearly make a distinction between speed and strength, like they're two different things.
Stronger than Knuckles.
I'll let you guys debate in the comments below if you think his muscles are actually stronger than Knuckles, because Knuckles is supposed to be the muscle of the group. Whether or not you want to say he actually is stronger than Knuckles or not, you can debate it all you want. I would just say they're somewhere in each other's ballpark based on the writers and the people that voice act and stuff. Movie Knuckles can apparently lift over 100 tons, or at least 100 tons, based on the promotional material. Does this prove that movie Shadow should technically, if they're implying that he's somewhere in Knuckles' ballpark of strength, does that mean he can lift over hundreds of tons, or 100 tons at least? I mean, him being comparable to Knuckles' strength is reasonable when you see him do this to Knuckles. We didn't see him visually do this, but there's implications. He literally tossed this vehicle, and Knuckles caught it, of course, but he threw something that Knuckles caught, you know? This military tank, basically. This is how strong Knuckles is, by the way, y'all. They're trying to imply he's in this guy's ballpark. If we're talking about super forms, he can move or push thousands of tons. When he moved this literal Eclipse Cannon building size structure, him being able to lift 100 tons makes a lot of sense when you see the weight of his strikes. Part of this could be speed and momentum, helping his punching power too, but yeah, he's able to easily knock out soldiers with armor. Look at the weight of his hits and look what it does to the street. Punching through solid concrete of the roof and such. It's obvious at this point he can easily punch through walls. I mean, look at these thick prison walls that's meant to contain people. He can easily punch through it. So no wall is safe around his hits. But a big reason on why he can hit hard is speed. Okay, so how do we compare him to the fast people in this movie universe? Well, based on this movie's events, there's like a running theme of him. They're implying that he's better at Sonic and the whole crew at everything, including speed, apparently.
In terms of sheer power, he's just bigger and better at everything.
Even Knuckles said it, and we remember in Sonic 2, Knuckles and Sonic had like full-blown fights.
He is much more impressive than the Hedgehog I fought previously.
I'm standing right here. He's faster than Sonic. He's faster than Sonic.
I personally did my own AI calculations of this speed right here, for example. The fact Sonic can make missiles and bullets look like they're frozen in time. This shows that he can achieve speeds dang near right at light speed. And Shadow is bare minimally comparable to this kind of speed for Sonic. I mean, look how Shadow's literally soloing the team, including Sonic, when it comes to raw speed. Sure, Sonic was kind of off guard, but this implies that, yeah, they are telling the truth about his speed. And this is a clear indication of their raw speed. They both raced towards these emeralds, and they got to him at the same time to show, yeah, he is on that level of speed with Sonic. So movie Shadow is easily light speed. Like I brought up earlier in the novelization, they talk about time manipulation. It's stuff like this. If he can do what he can do in the video game, you could argue that he can achieve infinite speed in short bursts via time manipulation. Because if you completely freeze time and you're the only thing moving, that's literally infinite speed. That's literally what that is. Even if it is short bursts, you could argue that movie Shadow can achieve infinite speed in short bursts via time manipulation. That's why he appears to be so fast. The only main difference is that in the movies, he never says the terms chaos control when he manipulates time, apparently. So you can take this as you will. Do you believe he can achieve infinite speed in short bursts in the movie universe, or you think I shouldn't take the novelization seriously yet until they confirm it in the movies? You know these quills or hair on Sonic? It's the same concept with Shadow too. There's characters in the show that talk about what kind of energy these things produce, and I guess you can kind of get an idea of how hard Shadow can hit based on stuff like this. They're literally walking thermonuclear bombs. Sure, this scene in particular was talking about Knuckles, but I think this same concept should apply for Shadow. It's literally the same thing.
As they shed quills with the destructive power of a thermonuclear weapon every time they go out for a jog.
Just like Knuckles and Sonic, you see that he has a whole bunch of these hairs or quills. Yeah, I think if a piece of his hair can produce this kind of energy, I'm sure his punches, his max amount of punching power could be more than that. You know what I mean? He literally can channel the same energy into his fist. Like, you see these quills, you see the energy that it produces, you can literally see it in his fist. Shadow being able to hit with force similar to nuclear bombs definitely seems believable. Not to mention, if these quills can produce this kind of energy, what do you think his punch would feel like if he rammed at you at light speed? Even under light speed, bare minimally a nuclear bomb, his fist would feel like, you know? Yeah, these little cute, adorable hedgehogs, some might call them, can pretty much quake your entire city to its core with the weight of their hits. That's scary to think about, ain't it? And just in case you had your doubts, they literally straight up stated this about Shadow being thermonuclear, just like the other Sonic characters.
What is that thermonuclear gerbil doing?
So when they call them that, they're not exaggerating. It's constantly stated about them being thermonuclear bomb type beings. There's some evidence that implied they could be way faster than the speed of light when you realize that the reason Tails even knows Sonic exists is because Sonic's energy traveled from the Earth all the way across the universe to his home planet. How the heck did Sonic's energy travel that far? You see what I mean?
Remember that night at the baseball field? Your energy blast reached all the way to my home planet.
I ain't trying to start a nerd war between who do you think is stronger or who can hit harder between Shadow and Sonic in the movie universe, but this movie really made Shadow look like he was the peak of all. He even has feats that mimic Sonic in the new movie. Because you remember when Sonic took out the power, all this energy produced in the entire Pacific Northwest? You see how his energies and Sonic's energies clash in a clash of power? It knocks out all of this, similar to what you saw in the other Sonic movie. Sure, this was like a stealth type of win, but Shadow got a knockout on Knuckles, Tails, and Sonic himself to prove that this is true. They were all tied up. Like, he literally knocked all three of the cast out. The scary part is that he had the inhibitor rings on this whole movie, so that makes you wonder, what is his true power? He's technically holding back this whole movie, and he's handling everybody. How many characters do you know has this many W's over Sonic so far? Even in this clash right here, for example, he's the one that knocked out Sonic after this big clash. Like, Sonic was literally sleepy, and you know Shadow wasn't because he's the one handcuffed. But what if I told you everything I've said so far as child's play when it comes to really getting an understanding of the amount of energy he can produce in his base state with chaos energy? Shadow was the energy and the reason why this eclipse cannon was going to wipe out the whole surface of the actual planet, guys. We never actually got to see the blast hit the Earth, so we don't know how it would have affected it visually, like just from visual perspective, but we did see what would happen if it hit something like the moon, which is still pretty large, even if it's smaller than the Earth. But let's lowball it for a second. Let's lowball it, all right? You know how the largest nuclear bomb we know of is 50 megatons. We don't have a nuclear bomb that could wipe out just a continent. We're talking about blasts that will wipe out the whole surface, 25,000 mile wide radius. In order for something to envelop all of this, this would be bare minimally 10 million times worse than the strongest nuclear bombs, based on my own personal AI calculation. You're probably thinking, what does this have to do with Shadow? Well, Shadow powered this up in a few minutes, right? Yeah, obviously this wasn't a 1 second type of attack. It was over time, but he powered up something that was going to wipe out the Earth's surface at least in like less than 3 minutes. Something that would have wiped out everything. This kind of proves, like earlier, that they're way above nuclear bombs, even though he did this in a couple minutes. Without making this video too math heavy, just simple math will tell you if somebody can produce this much energy in 2 minutes, the energy to wipe out the entire surface of the Earth, I'm lowballing it right now, hold with me for a second. he did that in 2 minutes, how much energy would he be producing per second? Because that's the best way to understand somebody's attack power or the punching power of somebody or energy they can produce per second. That would still be 4 million plus megatons of force energy he can produce per second. Basically saying he can wipe out a city or shake a city is kind of disrespecting him. The kind of energy he would have to produce per second would be more than enough energy to wipe out even a continent, y'all, like continents. Like that's the kind of energy we're talking about when it comes to Shadow, y'all. He did this in his base state. Like he might not be the full power of the Eclipse Cannon, but he's the one that powered it up a couple minutes. This is the kind of energy he would have to generate per second. Like, yeah, these beings have a lot of energy on them.
Infusing the core with chaos energy.
The Eclipse Cannon is about to turn this planet into a flaming pile of rubble, wiping out everything in a 25,000-mile radius, including us.
What I just showed you kind of implies this blast is way more potent than what I just said. They was literally about to annihilate the Earth with this. I want you guys to notice that the blast would have been so crazy that even though they're not technically all the way on Earth at this moment, his grandfather stated that it would have literally wiped them out too. He powered up something that was going to planet shatter, y'all. Earth shatter. If you have your doubts about the energy that this Eclipse Cannon was producing, look what it does to other celestial bodies like the freaking moon. So yeah, I kind of believe this is planet shattering type energy. So in a way, you can look at it like base Shadow empowered something that can split the moon in half. He can produce a portion of the energy of something that can split the moon. There's a good possibility he can possibly shatter planets even in his base state. I mean, after all, Shadow is the one that powered up this thing that was going to blow the Earth away. I'm just saying. But if you still have your doubts, well, look at it like this. You know how the whole crew's mighty, right? You know how the super forms are always considered above a character's base state. Well, Knuckles and stuff consistently has this mysterious feat of him knocking characters out of their super forms despite being in his base state. And him not being in his own super form, he still be knocking out super forms for some reason. You remember this phenomenon that happens in the games? You remember that? There's never been a real explanation on how these characters are doing this. Knuckles being able to knock super form beings out of their super form. I'm not saying they're equal to a super form's true power. I'm just saying even though the super forms are above them in their base states, when it comes to the crew, their base states can still hang enough to do stuff like this. Why am I bringing this up, you ask? Well, when it comes to Shadow, in the new movie, it's really unexplained, but in the new movie, he was able to pretty much knock Sonic out of his super form too somehow. Sure, Sonic was off guard, and I'm not trying to say Shadow is on the level of a super Sonic, but I'm just saying, what the heck does this mean? We know super forms give them extra crazy durability. They're called invincible to some degree, but we know with enough blunt force, they can be harmed, obviously, because in the new movie, it's talked about how their super form can be harmed by an Eclipse Cannon.
Now this might hurt a little!
Guys, make this make sense to me, guys. You guys know how durable super forms are. Something that can saw through the moon and make a big explosion of this magnitude. You see their super forms having the durability to withstand this kind of pressure, y'all. It was a 2-person team, but still, both of their super forms. It took a little while for this Eclipse Cannon to actually knock out one of them. This is crazy that it took this long for him to get depowered, but we see Shadow without no super form do this in his base state. Y'all make this make sense. Like, yo, are they implying he did more damage to him than an Eclipse Cannon did in that couple seconds? He did this in an instant, y'all. So I guess Shadow is mimicking what Knuckles usually does in the video games now, huh? But he actually did it in live action. Whereas the only way to knock Shadow out of his super form is that we see Sonic use his own super form to even be able to knock him out of it. That's why I say they bare minimally have to be able to shake the entire planet. You see what I mean? With the energy, they can produce energy enough to shake an entire planet based on stuff like this. This is a fair lowball, wouldn't you say? And keep all of this in mind, he still has these on. The movie never explicitly states that he's wearing these to limit his power, but if it's anything like the video games, they're probably going to mimic this concept. I mean, sure, he was in his super form here, which I'm not really talking about yet. I'm not really trying to talk about his super forms like that. I'm trying to give you an understanding of his strength in his base state, but they imply that him taking these off gives him an edge or more power. That's why he was doing this Herculean task of strength. So if you somehow don't believe he can do this, like with these rings on, with these rings off, you could argue even higher power, or he should be able to do this for sure. I mean, he's out here knocking beings out of their super forms in his base state when super forms can withstand Eclipse Cannon blasts that can literally saw the moon in half, y'all. Everything I just mentioned throughout this video, just know he can do all that stuff, but better in his super golden mode. Well, actually his white mode. It's like this universe's version of the Infinity Stones. When these two both got powered up right here, you got to see him get powered up. Shadow got powered up. We didn't really see him have this long in the movie, but like in previous movies, they explained some of the stuff these can do.
The Emerald has the power to turn thoughts into reality. In the wrong hands, it could threaten all life in the universe.
This could be because he's powered up, or this could be something he could do in his base state, be able to fire chaos spears. The reason why I'm saying he might be able to do this in his base state is because this is something he could do in the video games in his base state. So he might be able to do this in his base state, or this could be exclusive to super forms. Probably not exclusive, but yo. So it's really no shock that his super form can hit other super beings so hard to where they make the top of mountains explode. This Eclipse Cannon I brought up a billion times in this video already, this thing that was going to blow the earth up. It was a team effort, Shadow's here as well, but notice, this could be because of his chaos energy latent in him a lot, but he seemed like he did a better job than Sonic at this because Sonic actually got tired and lost his super mode while Shadow stayed powered up. Yeah, so yeah, he can definitely destroy a planet probably in this super mode, right? I mean, I've already showed you the clip of them stating that in the wrong hands, this could threaten everybody in the universe. So in later movies, we probably might see higher potential of these gems, or if they learn how to harness the power better or something. Who knows, really? It's a lot to theorize. I mean, he was right next to an explosion in a super form that was dang near the size of the planet, if we're being honest. Like, the way they described this explosion and what it would have done to Earth if it was near it.
The reactor core is overloading. It's only a matter of time before it blows.
So what does that mean for Earth?
A radioactive atmosphere, rain that kills the crops and melts your flesh.
And Shadow survived that mess, so we'll see him in the future. But at the end of the day, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, but he doesn't need this super form to be a beast, so let me get off of this. Do you respect movie Shadow? What on earth kind of device is this where he charges it with chaos energy from his own body and it makes its own black hole that sucks in everything in the vicinity? Like, what? How did he do this? Like, does he have any more pieces of gear like this that he didn't use again? It sucked in the whole mountain. Do me a favor and like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and I gotta say quickly, thanks for the donations. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.